Hello and welcome to How Coco. I dedicate this channel to explaining science and maths in a simple way. For more information about this video, please see the description box below. In this video, I'm going to cover the chapter Chemicals of Life. We're going to talk about carbohydrates, its test and importance of water. Other topics are continued in part 2 of the series. Carbohydrates are compounds made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. They come in simple forms and also complex forms. So in simple forms, we have examples like sugars, and complex forms we have like fiber or starch. Now we're going to talk about sugars. Now example of sugar would be glucose. We know what glucose is. So it is made up of 6 carbon atoms. So I'm just going to write it in short C. 6 carbon atoms arranged in a ring-like structure, which I'm going to show. They look like this. So they have a C in this corner, right here, here, and here. Now the only thing here is the C is not appearing right here. So it will just appear here. I believe in your exams you will need to know the structure. So this is the simple form. I could show you how it really looks like, but in actuality it is this. Right here belongs an oxygen atom. So up above goes H, and the line on the bottom shows OH, and here this is H, OH, but on the next beside that carbon opposite happens, OH goes up and H comes down, and here this is the same, and here we have a completely different thing happening. It goes like CH2OH. This is the glucose molecule. That is one molecule of glucose. In that structure we have 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms. Now since simple sugars are simple and they are small, they are also soluble in water, which means they get dissolved in water and also they taste sweet. So I would say these are the 2 characteristics of a simple sugar. Now let's take 2 molecules of simple sugar. I'm going to represent one molecule of simple sugar as this hexagon right here. So this is one and this is the second one. What if I join them with a bond? Well, it's no longer a simple sugar. We call it a complex sugar, obviously. We have a special name for this. We do not say complex. We give the term a disaccharide. Disaccharide. So examples would be sucrose and maltose. So I believe you must have guessed it right now. If 2 simple sugars are called disaccharide, then what is one molecule of sugar? That would be a monosaccharide, just MONO and then saccharide. Now in disaccharides, let's get back to here. They too are soluble and also taste sweet. Now we're going to talk about polysaccharides. Now instead of one or two simple sugar, we are going to take and join many simple sugars. Wait, like this. So this is, I will draw 4 simple sugars joined together. We get a large molecule called polysaccharide. Examples would be cellulose, and cellulose is present in plant cell walls, and glycogen, this one's in human bodies or animals. Polysaccharides, however, are insoluble, they do not dissolve in water, and they do not taste sweet, have no sweet taste. Now back to carbohydrates in general. Obviously they are needed for energy, so we have carbohydrate food for energy. When energy is released in humans and plants, we use a certain kind of carbohydrate to release those energy, like for respiration, right? And that would be glucose. So we humans and plants, we use glucose to respire, to use it to release energy for our daily needs. In humans, the cells of our body, they obtain it from the blood. Glucose is present in the blood. But in plants, it isn't really glucose that's transported and used, but it is something called sucrose. We've heard of this before. This is a disaccharide. So the thing is, if this is the plant here, I mean, yeah, they do use glucose, but it's the sucrose that goes up and down. But by the time it reaches to the cell, they kind of like change it to glucose and then use it for themselves. So yeah. Now we're going to talk about storage. Animals or humans and plants, they store carbohydrates, all right, they store in our body. In animals, we store them in the form of glycogen. Well, these guys are usually kept in kind of like the bookshelves inside these muscles, yeah, so that they can be used later. Plants store in the form of starch and not glycogen, sorry. So we can find them in seeds, another useful carbohydrate in plant is obviously glucose. I covered that earlier. Cellulose, they are used to form crisscrossing fibers of a plant cell wall. They are really strong to keep the shape of the cell, and that's why they're used as a cellulose. Now the interesting bit is, how do we test for carbohydrates? How do we know that this certain foods got carbohydrates? Simple. All we do is add a solution called Benedict's solution. Benedict's, okay, solution. So to the food that we're testing, right? So we have, say, I don't know, some food, let's call this a potato. We'll add some drops to it and heat it. Add some drops like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and heat it. So this test, it works for not all carbohydrates. We need to keep that in mind. They only work for reducing sugars. So let's see what all fall under that category. Reducing sugars are all simple sugars and some complex, for example maltose. So if our results are positive, we are going to see something like a brick red color wherever we kept the drop, not this bright red, brick red, darker one. And if the result is negative, it will stay the same as blue. There's blue right here, there. For starch, the previous test was for reducing sugar. For starch, we have a whole different test, and it's even easier because there is no heating in here. So again, let's say we have a potato, such a bad potato. Anyway, we have a potato. We're going to add in drops of iodine solution. So if starch is present, you're going to see a blue-black color. Blue-black color wherever you kept the drop. If there is no starch in that potato, we will not see a blue-black color. It would just remain the same as in orange-brown. Orange-brown. So we're going to talk about water now. It's part of the chapter. So chemical reactions always takes place in our body, and especially in water. These reactions that happen in living organism is called metabolic reactions. Now without water acting as a solvent, reactions won't take place. So we need water for that, and if there's no water, we are a dead body. Now, water is also present in our blood, specifically the liquid part called plasma. Important substances like glucoses are dissolved in water, as well as enzymes. They need to be dissolved in it to be active. And finally, water is used for excretion. Water allows us to get rid of toxic waste in our body like urea. They are dissolved in water and then expelled out through the bladder. I'm going to summarize the points on water. So water is a good solvent. They also act as a transport medium to carry out important substances up and down our body. They play an important role in excretion, in expelling out the toxic waste. In plants, these water molecules H2O, they combine with carbon dioxide to form sugar like glucose. And lastly, important chemical reactions takes place in them with the help of enzymes. Otherwise, nothing will happen. Well, that's it. I really hope you understood what I had explained. If you did so, a thumbs up will go along the way. Thanks for watching, and do subscribe too.